The time is just gone 9:38 a.m. as we continue with news and views this morning. And still to come later on the show, we'll be taking a look at the approval of power licenses to a Turkish company. But right now, we're going to be joined by a member of Hizb Tahrir in the United Kingdom, Mazhar Khan, who's written a piece, A War on Terror 20 Years Later, Is the World a Better Place? Mazhar, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And as always, welcome to Salam Media.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So it was a pleasure to be on your show, my friend.
Yes, yeah, normally we used to having these in-depth discussions, but being a drive time show, I know there's a lot of ground that we need to cover. And let's
Mhm.
just talk about this piece that you've written, War on Terror 20 years later, and is the world a better place? And if I know you are a bit soft, if you could just possibly up your volumes, please, Mazhar.
Um, is that any better?
Much better, Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, regarding this war on terror 20 years anniversary, as Hizb Tahrir, right from the onset, and you can check our articles and our speeches, right from the onset, we said that this war on terror was actually a project to re engineer Islam. And it was never about terrorism. That was just an excuse that they used, and that's the banner that they used. For example, Europol did a study in Europe about terrorism. They said 99 point something percent of terrorism wasn't committed by a Muslim, but by separatist movements, independence movements, leftist, Marxist groups. In America, the IRA used to openly fundraise. And in America, they got a big problem with terrorism. If we remember, I think to 1994 when the Oklahoma bombing took place. So there's other kinds of terrorism. Yet in Guantanamo Bay, there was not a single non-Muslim. In Bagram, not a single non-Muslim. Abu Ghraib, not a single non-Muslim. And any of the secret camps they had around the world. So it's clear it was not about terrorism. This was an excuse and a project to re-engineer Islam from the onset. And we said this right from the beginning. So, for example, even before 9/11, many of your maybe viewers or listeners will know that there was this American project for a new American century, what they call the PNAC, and they had
Mm.
neocons in that. That was established before 9/11. That was established in 1996, I believe. And that was their agenda to reshape the world. And the focus was the Middle East. Even as far back as 1988, George Bush, when he gave a speech, when he came back from Poland, he says, I don't care what the facts are. I will never apologize for America. So he didn't care if America broke the law. He didn't care if America did illegal things, invaded countries, stole stuff, whatever they did. He said, I don't care what the facts are. I will never apologize for America. So after 9/11, that was used as an excuse for this project for a new American century to be activated. And so they went around the world, the Muslim world, to re engineer it to stop the Muslim world ever being a threat to the Western world. So this PVE industry was born, this prevent violent extremism. And this was done to re engineer Islam. So Islam would be made into a religion like Christianity or Hinduism, and its political vision, its political ideas, its social ideas, economic ideas would be removed from the world, and it would be just created. Islam would be just like any other religion. So
Yes.
this is what we
Now,
said right from the onset.
Mazhar, just looking at the impact on the Muslim world and in terms of re engineering Islam and this project, what has this actually meant for the Muslim world?
Well, what it's meant is anybody who talks about anything that doesn't fit into the secular liberal context has been demonized, even to the extent that halal food has been attacked, women's clothing has been attacked. But the real focus has been the issue of Sharia, has been the issue of Khilafah, has been the issue of the unity of the Muslim world, has been the issue of Islamic ideas and principles being established in a society which would stop the Western hegemony of the world. So their corporations would not be able to come and take resources from Asia and Africa like they do now. The dollar would not be the dominant currency in the world. So these are some of the tools and mechanisms that the Western world uses in order to enforce its hegemony on the world. And Islam would be an obstacle to that, because Islam doesn't believe in the fiat currency. Islam doesn't believe in the interest and riba. So their banking system, their financial institution would have no leverage in the Muslim world. And these are the levers that they use to control countries. And if the Muslim world didn't play by their rules, they would not be able to, they would not be manipulated by them. And this is their fear, that the rest of the world would then gravitate towards a Muslim-centered world, and the Western world would lose its hegemony. So they tried to nip it in the bud from the onset. Just like Fir'aun, when he saw a dream and he initiated a policy to kill all male babies in order to nip the threat in the bud. We know how that ended. So when communism fell, they realized that Islam is a potential threat to Western hegemony. So their focus was refocused onto the Muslim world. It had been on the Muslim world before communism came on the scene. They destroyed the Ottoman world. They created all these false states. But communism was a distraction from their real focus. So after the fall of communism, they refocused on the Muslim world to make sure that it is never able to stand on its 2 feet and pose a challenge to the Western hegemony in the world. So,
Yes.
over the last few years, when you've had people like Gert Wilders, Sam Harris, Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, and many, many political figures and international figures demonizing Islam. Tony Blair called Islam an evil ideology. Donald Trump said we have a problem in our country and it's called Muslims. When Boris Johnson mocks Muslim women, they created the atmosphere in order to demonize Islam, to create policies that were anti-Islamic, anti-Muslim. But because they'd created this mood music, the wider public would not oppose these anti-Islamic policies, because they'd already put into their minds that the problem is Islam and the problem is Muslims.
Yes, and also, Mazhar, the point that you make in the piece you've written, where you talk about the West failing to change Islam. In fact, the Ummah is calling for Islam more than ever now.
Absolutely. So after 20 years of this, people might think, well, what's changed? We're still, our lands are still ruled by oppressive rulers. There's still a global attack on Islam. Muslims are still not secure in their own countries. The IMS and the capitalist institutions there. But something very fundamental has changed. And that is that the lies and the myths that have been perpetuated by the puppet rulers in our lands and their preachers, that we are too weak, we are too disunited, the West is too strong, the West is too powerful, we can do nothing. Well, the Taliban have well and truly cooked that goose. They don't have an army, they have no air force, they have no navy, they have no standing army, but yet they were able to defeat a superpower. And that brought about the reality that America is not as powerful as they think. They got kicked out of Vietnam by farmers. They got kicked out of Afghanistan by, little more than shepherds. They're not that strong. The only reason they were able to invade Afghanistan is because Musharraf opened the door for them. America was not able to go into Afghanistan until Pakistan gave them unstinting support. And this is what Musharraf said: we will give them carte blanche support. They can do whatever they like. And it's only because of that they were able to occupy. And this is an important lesson for us, because if we look at history, it is only treachery which has caused harm to this ummah, or disunity to the ummah. So when the Mongols ransacked Baghdad, it was because of treachery from people within the Khilafah. When we looked at the fall of the Ottomans, it was because of the treachery of the Young Turks and the Arab tribes. When we look at the Indian occupation of India by the British, it was because of treachery by people like Mir Jafar. So it is because of the treachery from within the Ummah, the enemies of Muslims have been able to overpower them. But if the Ummah didn't have this treachery, there's nothing the non-Muslims can do. Even in this day and age, America could do nothing in Afghanistan. But they were only able to enter because of the treachery of the rulers. And the same with Iraq. America had to get the whole Muslim world on its side before it put one foot in Iraq. So this goes to show us we are not weak. We are not as useless as our preachers and our politicians like to make out. They are the cause of the problem. They are the cause of disunity. And they are the cause of giving power and authority to the enemies of the Muslim world over us. And I think this has become very clear, and this has something that has really changed in the Muslim world. Even to the extent that those tyrants who think America has got their back, even they now know, if they didn't know before, that when push comes to shove, America will leave them. Just like Ashraf Ghani. The day before, America were, whispering sweet words into his ears. When they decided to leave, they dropped him. He had to flee with all the money that he could steal. He had to flee the country. So the other tyrant rulers must know that when the time is up, the time is up. So Alhamdulillah, I think this has emboldened the Ummah. It's given her a new sense of purpose. It's given her more courage, and it's given her a realization that we are not weak, and our weakness is because of the treachery within the Ummah, which is centered in our puppet rulers and their preachers. So I think that is a big change that has now probably upset the Western world, that the myth and the lies have been torn away, and many in the Ummah can now really see where the problem lies. The problem lies with the treachery by the rulers who claim to be rulers of our lands.
Mazhar, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to go for an air break. We'll be back in a minute or two, inshallah.
Have now reopened on 235 Matthews Mayiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Africa. For your convenience, the Africa Muslims Agency's Durban office has moved to 797 Jan Smuts Highway, Sherwood, Durban. Our friendly staff are eagerly awaiting to receive, advise, and share with you the current ongoing campaigns and projects that you have been supporting for the last 35 years. Visit us at 797 Jan Smuts Highway, Sherwood, or call 031 207 5676. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
What makes Randari Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewelry? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewelry needs? We believe it's because at Randari Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randari Jewelers to make it special. www.randarijewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randari Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Approximately 785 million people in this world do not have access to safe, clean water. In developing countries, around 80% of all illnesses are due to contaminated water and poor sanitation. Don't let dirty water end a life. Build a water well. In Bangladesh, Malawi, Nepal, Zimbabwe, or here at home in South Africa, donate to Penny Appeal's Thirst Relief Project to bring safe, clean water to communities around the world. www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Did you know that you can get the latest humanitarian news and updates from the Al Imdad Foundation by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube? You can also receive our flash updates via WhatsApp by adding 082 591 6430 as a contact and sending us a WhatsApp message with your name. That's 082 591 6430. Visit alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information. It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Gone 7 minutes to 10 a.m. and we continue with Mazhar Khan this morning talking about the species written War on Terror 20 years later. Is the world a better place? Mazhar, just to continue, and before we went for the ad break, you were talking about the puppet rulers and you were talking about the scholarly fraternity. Now, as a Muslim ummah, to a large extent, we have been influenced by these scholars. And just talking about these scholars in particular, who have basically, furthered the agenda of the West in terms of re-engineering Islam and the role that they have played over a period of time. Now, it is clear that the Muslim Ummah has come to terms with what these scholars have tried to achieve, and obviously not with much success, because we see the sentiment, as you mentioned, that the West have actually failed to change Islam, and the Muslim Ummah has woken up to the fact in terms of what these scholars, together with the puppet rulers, have done to the detriment of the Muslim Ummah.
Yes, I mean, like, for example, in Saudi Arabia, there's many scholars there who have spoken against what's going on, but unfortunately they end up in prison. So those that support the regimes are promoted or given funding, and they are allowed to speak. And they legitimize their rule by saying, oh, you can't speak against the ruler. It doesn't matter how much oppression he causes, you cannot go against the ruler. So you've got preachers on that or in the Muslim world like that, who legitimize the illegitimate authority of those rulers. But then in the West, because of the huge amount of funding that has been given by governments to any Muslim that speaks on behalf of the government agenda, the PVE agenda, the prevention of violent extremism, as they call it. So here in Britain, we've got something called Prevent, where they fund Islamic and Muslim institutions if they toe the government line and they toe their agenda. So there are preachers in this country, I'm not going to mention their names, who will go along with that, and they will say that, yes, Islam is just a personal religion. But they will contradict themselves by saying, but Islam is fully in support of British values, the British political system, the way of doing things British. So hold on a second. On the one hand, you're telling the people that Islam is just a personal religion, but then you speak on these political and social matters by saying that British values are in total harmony with Britain, with Islam. And then going out even to say that Islam doesn't oppose LGBT agenda. Islam doesn't oppose, feminism. Islam doesn't oppose and anything the liberal agenda comes with. So you've got that in the West, where people are trying to normalize Islam with liberal values. And then in the Muslim world, you've got people who are part of the other side of the PVE agenda, where they support the illegitimate rule of the hand-picked puppet rulers there in Saudi Arabia or in Jordan, in Syria, in places like that. So this is the preachers that I was referring to. And I would say that they are probably in the minority, but they are very vociferous. But there are many, alhamdulillah, people on the haqq across the world in the Muslim world. But unfortunately, they don't get the airtime, they don't get the platforms, and many of them end up in prisons for speaking up against the injustice of these governments. But because they know that the Muslims respond to Islam, so they have to package their agenda in Islam by saying Islam permits this, Islam permits tyrant rulers, Islam permits LGBT. Because if they said, oh, liberal values say this, most Muslims won't buy that. So this is why, in order to change the Muslims, you need to re-engineer Islam. And we know this is nothing new, because this is what the British tried to do when they colonized the world. So when we look at the Qadiani movement, that arose in India because that was Islam stripped away of the Sharia, Islam stripped away of its politics, and Islam reduced to an anglicized religion, made into like an individual religion. That was where Qadiani originated. And what did they say? They said we support the British and we support their occupation of India, and we feel that they are the legitimate authority in India. So today, when they are trying to create a British Islam or an American Islam or a French Islam, it is nothing more than Qadiani 2.0. But Alhamdulillah, we as an ummah, we will struggle against this in order to make the ummah realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed guidance for the whole of our lives, for the whole of the planet. It didn't just come for our prayers, it came for our politics, it came for our economics, it came for our social life, and it came for our spiritual life, it came for all aspects of life. We cannot reduce the guidance of Allah just to 5-time prayer and Ramadan and Hajj. Islam didn't come for that. So this is something that, which is important for the Muslims to be aware of.
Well, Mazhar, I must say, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but it's been fascinating engaging with you on this topic, alhamdulillah. And as always, we do appreciate you taking time out, talking to us here at Salam Media. We wish you well, inshallah. Allah accept, Allah reward your efforts. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mazhar Khan joining us out of the United Kingdom this morning, member of Hizb Tahrir in the United Kingdom, and unpacking this piece that he has written, The War on Terror 20 years later, is the world a better place? And that brings us straight on to 10 a.m. It's time for me to sign off. I'll be back with you once again tomorrow, inshallah. But for now, from myself and the rest of the team, to all of you, to all the listeners on the various platforms of Salam Media, the Al Ansar, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, One Nation, 88.9 FM, we appreciate your company with us this morning. So until we meet tomorrow, from myself and the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.